Hello and welcome to the top 10 technique characters on Bleach Brave Souls. For this list, I try to take everything into consideration when placing these characters in their spots, from their damage, to their utility in Senkaimon and every other PvE area and PvP. If you have a problem with it, take it up with HR, it's linked in the description. That said, let's begin. Starting things off, we have Sosuke Aizen, a character who at one point was actually in the #1 spot on this video. Well, a previous iteration of this video anyway. And that just goes to show how far this game has come, because Aizen is still super OP. He's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and even though more characters have this now, he was the very first one to have the ability to have an infinite boost, because he has a strong attack 2 that's a boost move, he has Enhancer, and he has a strong attack recharge link. This increases his own attack and the attack of his teammates by 33%, as well as their defense and focus. But for him, it means that his attack is going to be well over 800, which is going to factor into how much damage his attacks deal and his strong attacks. Speaking of which, they all do a decent amount of damage. As I mentioned, his strong attack 2 is a boost move, his strong attack 1 is a lunge move, and his strong attack 3 is a full screen attack. Building this character with an infinite boost won't allow you to continuously spam the strong attack, since his strong attack 2 will take longer to recharge, but luckily you'll have your normal attacks which will do a decent amount of damage because he's boosted. This character also has a Soul Reaper killer, and one of the best specials in the game, which is also one of the main reasons he actually made it on this list. He's one of 4 characters with a special that has a chance to instantly kill the enemy. That alone makes him really valuable in Senkaimon. Not to mention, not bad in PvP, since he can actually hold his own thanks to his boost move, though maybe not in the higher seats.
退屈だぜ。てめえは楽しませてくれるんだろうな。
Next up is the Knight of Demons version of Grimmjow. And yeah, there will be some people upset that he's even on this list. And I get it, people really don't like the no affiliation killer. But just because they don't like it doesn't mean it's not a good killer. Sure, it's not as common as Hollow or Ankar or Soul Reaper, but it comes in handy more than Espada or Captain killers do, and it's becoming increasingly more relevant as the game continues. Not to mention that even without the killer, he is still a force to be reckoned with, since he has a super high SP, Frenzy, and the ability to inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks, which all have pretty good reach thanks to his long reach for his normal attack, his strong attack 3 that's a full screen, and his strong attack 2 that's a hybridish vortex. All of this let him clear a room relatively quickly, and when he needs to deal even more damage, he can always use a special, which is full screen and deals even more damage thanks to the weakening. Now I'm glad that no affiliation characters are becoming more common, in things like Senkaimon and Guild Quest. Plus there's a number of droplet zones and inheritance zones that have them as well. With new story missions and new characters coming, I'm sure we will see this killer be even more useful, and maybe even land this character on a higher spot on the list.
冷圧をぶち込んで叩き起こしたいやつがいるんだ。まだ全然使いこなせちゃいねえけどな。
Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. Martin, he has Flurry. What are you thinking? Why is he so high up? And for those of you who are thinking that, you should know that Flurry isn't everything. And I could take 19 minutes and 46 seconds explaining it, but I've already done it in this video, which you can find linked in the description below. To sum it up, Flurry is only best to have in PvP and regular PvE. Once you incorporate Senkaimon, inheritance zones, and droplet zones, it may actually be best to take a character with a decent killer instead. For more info, go watch that video. With all that said, it doesn't change the fact that Ichigo is still a really good character. Not only does he have one of the highest attacks in the game, but he also has a normal attack damage link, and as I mentioned already, Flurry. He's also the first and only character so far to have Flurry and be ranged, plus he has an incredibly fast attack speed, so he's gonna be dishing out damage left and right. Seriously, this guy does a ton of damage, and he has pretty good crowd control thanks to his strong attack 1 and strong attack 2. His strong attack 1 pushes enemies back, it's something we've seen in a lot of characters, but his strong attack 2 is a crawling vortex move, which really helps control the enemies and push them back, and it helps increase the combo, though he doesn't have Frenzy, so it's not as much as other characters. Finally, we have his strong attack 3 that's a full screen move, and for this character, it really only serves the purpose of breaking guards. Finally, we have this character special, that by itself doesn't do that much damage, but it does leave the enemies behind with weakened defense, which then allows this character to deal even more damage. That high attack and flurry combo make this guy the most damaging character in the whole game, in terms of normal attack anyway, and we're not taking killer multiplications into effect. But still, it's a very impressive feat, and it's why I put him on this list.
プレゼントを届けに来ましたよ。どうぞ受け取ってください。 メリークリスマス。
Next up we have Christmas Retsu, a character with a super high SP, frenzy, and debilitating burn on all of her attacks. This character also has a strong attack recharge link, which is never a bad thing for a character that can inflict status ailments to have, since it allows people to build this character in a way that lets them spam the strong attacks and have it be more likely to inflict them. And she's already very likely, she's got pretty good strong attacks. Her strong attack 3 is a full screen move and her strong attack 2 is a hybrid vortex. Not to mention that her strong attack 1 has some ridiculous range, and her normal attack is piercing. All of these increase the likelihood of her inflicting burn, and it makes her a really good boss killer. Then we have the actual boss killing move itself, which is her special. It's full screen, it's guaranteed to inflict burn, and if that's not enough, it also has an attack reduction, meaning that if an enemy were to survive, they're not going to do as much damage to you in the near future. Also, this Retsu floats. It doesn't add to this character's rank on this list, I just thought that was a really neat thing to do.
Amaino.
Next up is the one-arm version of Genryusai Yamamoto, and I know placing him at number 6 is gonna ruffle a few feathers, but if you watch that one video that I mentioned when I explained Ichigo, it might make a little more sense to you. Still, this character is unbelievable. He has a super high attack, as well as flurry and poise, and he has a damage reduction link. Not to mention that he also has a captain killer, so he's basically primarily a PvP character. Since most of the characters in PvP right now are captains. What makes him stand out among the rest though, is the fact that he can inflict debilitating burn on everything. And this includes his normal attack, which because he has flurry now hits twice, doubling the chance of inflicting burn with these attacks. He's the only competitive PvP character who has the ability to inflict a status ailment that deals gradual damage if inflicted. And thanks to his poise, he's gonna get all of his attacks out, including his strong attacks, which all have a very good chance of inflicting debilitating burn. Once Retsu came out, she pretty much dominated PvP. And even though this character isn't the perfect counter, building him correctly could definitely give her a run for her money. This character's abilities not only make him good in PvP, but also PvE, since he's a really good character to auto with. Of course, you are gonna have to pick your battles when it comes to killers, since the captain killer really is only useful in PvP or in very specific Senkaimon stuff. Still, his debilitating burn and heavy damage output makes him a really good asset. Finally, we have this character's special. And it's a very rare one, because not a lot of characters have a special that's also a vortex move. Since he's not an SP character, it really doesn't matter how much damage the initial special does. What does matter is the vortex of fire he leaves behind, and if you use it correctly, you can have it be effective against multiple waves.
Bankai Kannon Biraki Enishime Aratame. Shikatanai desu ne.
Now at number 5 we have Kisuke Urahara, my personal favorite character, and a character with one of the most useful specials on this list, and in the entire game, since using the special puts a protection around everyone who's alive, and brings them back from the dead if they happen to die after this special's been used. And that's on top of the full screen damage it does. Now Kisuke is only one of 2 characters that can do this. It brings your allies back at 50% health, and it's essentially like giving everyone on your team a 1-up. While there are abilities like Last Ditch Survival that can replicate this, it's not nearly as good. But that's not all about this character that's amazing, though it is why he's so high up. He's also a really good character. He's got a really high SP, frenzy, and a strong attack recharge link. His strong attack 1 has a 180 max strong attack and is really good for pushing enemies back, as well as increasing the combo. His strong attack 2 is a very unique strong attack that hits in a couple of waves and has really good range. He's also got a strong attack 3 that's a full screen move, and he's completely immune to poison. Now combat wise, there are some characters who are a little bit better than him that I've actually already mentioned on this list, but the reason he's ranked above them is due to his incredible special and what it brings in terms of autos and Kaimon and just PvE in general. It's definitely one of the best specials in the game, and it makes him one of the best team players because of it.
そないな顔せんといてちゃんと戻ってくるて指一本触れさせてん邪魔や
Next up we have Chamorro, Cacao Society Edition, who like many of the other characters before him also has a really high SP as well as frenzy. He's also got a strong attack recharge link, which is great for him because all of his strong attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating poison. His strong attack 2 in particular has a really good chance, at least at close range, since it's a 180 max strong attack and it hits a lot more times than your average strong attack, largely increasing the chance of inflicting the poison and also increasing the combo relatively quickly. But that's not the only useful strong attack, as his strong attack 1 is a lunge move and his strong attack 3 3 is a full screen move. But that's not all, because in addition to being able to deal poison on everything, he's also completely immune from it, which is just a nice added bonus. Another really good added bonus is the fact that he can flash step 1 extra time than your average character. Something that right now is actually a big deal, since being able to clear a room fast can be highly beneficial, and it also makes it a lot easier to dodge a special. And being able to dodge and being able to inflict poison makes him one of the best characters to go up against bosses, since poison is really good for boss killing, and he would be really good at evading their attacks.
挽回弱砲雷光弁この一撃で終わらせてやろう
Now, out of my previous list, this one is probably the one that's jumped around the most, and for very good reason. If you guys are just starting this game and you have the opportunity to get her from a pick your own 6-star kind of ticket, then you absolutely must, since Soifon here is unbelievably useful. Seriously, I think she's the reason they stopped giving characters long stride. Now, as far as stats go, she's kind of on the lower side on this list. With that said, her SP is actually still really high. It's just that everybody else is higher. She's also got a relatively decent attack. In addition to this, she can inflict debilitating poison on all of her attacks except for her special, because that can inflict debilitating burn. Now, this by itself would be a really good reason to put her on this list. Granted, if it was just this, I wouldn't, because there are other characters with higher SPs that can do the same. The reason she's so high up is because of her ability to flash step more than the average character, even more than Gin, and in addition to that, she also has long stride, an ability that apparently K-Lab thought is too broken to give to anybody else after this character, because while other characters do have it, I do believe that this Soifon is the last one they gave it to. In fact, at this point, thanks to her strong attacks having good range, this character is actually the fastest in the whole game, something that's really useful in Senkaimon and Guild Quest. Not to mention the fact that she can dodge a special like nobody else, and she's got a boosted link, meaning she can just continue to spam her strong attacks. Now don't get me wrong, damage wise there are better characters, including pretty much everybody else I've already mentioned. Still, it doesn't mean she can't dish it out, and her abilities make her one of the most useful characters to have in this entire game.
お前が逃れる術はね
Now I know there are some people who don't like this character's strong attacks, and I get it, he doesn't exactly have a full screen one, but there is a very good reason why he was in the Raging Battle Summons, along with the 3rd anniversary Quiqueya, the Red Aizen, and the Quincy Ichigo. If you have this Toshiro, you should count yourself lucky. He's a very good character with a really high SP, frenzy, and the ability to inflict debilitating freeze on all of his attacks. As I mentioned, they are not full screen, but they all do have really good range, and his strong attack 3 is even kind of a hybrid vortex, and his ability to inflict debilitating freeze lets him be really useful in Senkaimon, and a really useful asset to pretty much any co-op. The real reason I put him so high up on this list though is because of his double killer. He is a Soul Reaper and a Rancor, which is the best combination you can have. And it's the combination of that, his high SP and a strong attack damage link, that makes him the best tag team character to date, since he'll be useful in pretty much anywhere that has a Soul Reaper or a Rancor, be it fodder enemies or bosses, especially now where killers are multiplied in some of the tougher stuff. Not to mention that it's very often that we get droplet zones or inheritance zones that have both of these enemies. Honestly though, in my personal opinion, he's not quite as fun as pretty much all the other characters on this list. Still, there's no denying that he's very useful, and he's a very versatile character. Now before getting to number 1, here are a few more top tier characters who didn't quite make it on the top 10.
カリドリそうだカリドリ仕方ねえよく見ろよ俺の戦い方をさっさと終わらせてえだろお互いによそろそろ時間だその花の咲く瞬間が君の最後だよ打ち伏せろベルーナ消えろしょうがないね色に黒
Now Now at number 1 we have Shusui, the past version, who is the newest tech character to have come out, but without a doubt he's one of the strongest characters in this game. Not only does he have a really high SP, he also has Frenzy and a strong attack damage link, making his strong attacks the hardest hitting out of anybody else on this list. He's also got very useful strong attacks, with his strong attack 1 being very quick to activate, his strong attack 3 being full screen, and his strong attack 2 being a crawling vortex move. Useful pretty much anywhere and really good for crowd control. Not to mention that it racks up the combo incredibly fast, and it's got a very high probability of inflicting the newest of status ailments, a status ailment called Lacerate, and Shusui is the only one who can do it so far. That's also one of the main reasons he made it at number 1, because this status ailment is like no other so far. Not only can it inflict damage over time similar to poison or burn, but those who are affected are not able to use their specials or their strong attacks. I guess I shouldn't say it's like no other so far, because it's like burn and slow if they were somehow fused together. Anyway, this ability is very useful because it makes him a really good boss killer and honestly boss controller, since using his abilities would stop a boss from using any strong attacks or specials. This is something that will be really useful in Senkaimon and honestly really useful anywhere because it inflicts damage like burn and poison does, and thanks to his strong attacks he's very likely to inflict it. His normal attacks are also likely to inflict it though, because they just happen to be ranged and piercing. Finally, there's the fact that he's completely immune from weakening, something they didn't really have to add, but it's always nice to be completely immune from something. Honestly, I feel like they added this status ailment just in time to be able to give it to Grimmjow, because I'm willing to bet he's gonna have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.